Hello, Dr. Dave Highmarsh, GP Templates. Huge thanks to Ali, who reached out and said, Dave, love your videos. Could you do one on the Salary Portfolio Innovation Scheme, which he was currently involved in? And I reached out and managed to secure an interview with Mohan and Victoria, and huge thanks to him for doing so. This is superb if you're newly qualified looking to add a bit more variety to your career, which is paid as well. All very good. If you're a bit older in the tooth like myself, do not worry about it. They are looking for mentors as well, and there is more information at the end of the video. Let's cut over to our chat. Many thanks. And welcome to the sort of this video. And I'm going to hand you over, because enough talking about me, to both Mohan and Victoria. So would you mind just introducing yourselves?
So I'm Mohan, I'm a GP in South West London, Merton, also the SPIN programme director for South West London.
Hi, I'm Victoria Kent. I'm the project manager for the South West London SPIN Need to Practice Fellowship Scheme. Fantastic.
I'm going to hand over to you guys because, and I'm no doubt fire a whole load of questions at you at the end, if that's okay.
Absolutely. I think Victoria's got the slide deck. So we're going to start with a small video clip, which just highlights what the SPIN programme is about. And it's a 1 minute little video.
Good morning, Alex. How are you today? You excited about becoming a newly qualified GP?
I'm good, thanks. Looking forward to finally getting stuck in now I've made it.
Excellent stuff.
I do have a question though. I'm interested in exploring some of my passions around community health and medical education. Any tips?
Great question. New to practice fellowships or SPIN fellowships would be ideal for you.
Did I hear SPIN New to Practice Fellowships?
Yes, please explain.
Yeah, so basically it's a scheme aimed at newly qualified GPs and GP nurses to take up permanent roles.
How does it work?
It supports the creation of new and innovative roles with a supportive package.
So will this be on top of my regular sessions?
Yes, it's on top of your regular sessions and you can choose whichever fellowship you like, and the scheme lasts for 2 years.
Fantastic. So I can use my session to teach medical students or run a community project?
You also get the opportunity to network with other fellows in your local area.
That sounds great.
Excellent. I'll send across the details.
And that sort of highlights the programme from what can be done. And in London, where we're based, in South West London, we have 4 VTS schemes. So roughly 20 registrars who will be completing their programme in each of the VTS schemes. So roughly 80 who will be exiting the programme each August, although some do come out later in the year. And so a real opportunity to try and help recruit and retain these newly qualified GPs in primary care. So we're going to talk through SPIN New to Practice Fellowships. So they're all the training hubs in South West London. So Wandsworth, Merton, Croydon, Kingston, Sutton, and Richmond, and we're all sort of pulled in together under the umbrella of South West London training hubs. Thank you, Victoria. So that's the team. So that's myself, furthest left. That's Victoria. In the video was Katie Bayfield, who's recently left, and Victoria is now taking up the role of the project manager. Yeah, so that's Victoria. We've got Dawn as well, who's our nurse program director, and we've also got Melanie Ashdown, who's the Wandsworth Training Hub's lead. Thank you. So what is SPIN New to Practice Fellowship Scheme? So SPIN stands for Salary Portfolio Innovation Scheme, and it's aimed to support newly qualified GPs, so within 12 months of qualification, and to keep them in primary care. And so ideally they should have 1 or 2, ideally 2 sessions to support their fellowship portfolio, and they need to be newly qualified GPs and do a minimum of 4 sessions in a practice or in a substantive role. So that's really key. So sadly it's not available for locums. We need to be in a substantive role, and they need to be working 1 of the 6 boroughs across South West London. This scheme is available across the whole of London, but in South West London that's what our criteria is. And so an example might be that a newly qualified GP may be looking for minimum 4 sessions, and so as a practice you may say to them, well, look, come and work for us 4 sessions doing your sort of GP work, and we'll be able to offer you a fellowship. And so the fellowship could be up to 2 sessions, so that they'll do 4 sessions at the practice plus 2 sessions of fellowship, and the fellowship will be something outside the practice ideally, so something which develops them as a fellow, and that can be anything from dermatology, education, it could be community work, It could be all kinds of innovative work. As part of this role, so we actually have 70 fellows in South West London, and this will go up and go down each time we recruit new fellows. And so the next recruitment round is in August, in September, just after when the August qualification happens. And so with these 70 fellows, we have a peer support session every month, and this is a 2-hour session. And so for the first hour, we have a guest speaker who comes along and speaks to us. And so that first hour, we've had talks from Farzana Hussain, we've had Rachel Morris attend, we've also had Becky Malby come along and talk to us, to the group, which has been fantastic. And then in the second hour, we all talk about our fellowship and find out what we're all doing and whether we can share any learning and also learn from each other. And that's a really important part of the fellowship programme, and it's well attended. We have 4 sessions throughout the month, as it shows on the table. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Monday. And the Monday evening one being allowing for those who can't find time during the day. And again, we have good attendance, and they're encouraged to attend one a month. Thank you, Victoria. So what are some of the opportunities? And so the fellowship is 2 sessions, and so one session is paid for by the scheme. And the second session is paid for by the host, and the host could be anyone from GP Fed, the LMC, training hubs, secondary care, public health, and there's some of the offers we've got available. And so how it works for the hosts is that as a training hub, for example, the training hub will have 2 sessions of a fellow and only paid for 1 session, so they really benefit from this. The scheme benefits from it because it helps develop relationships and also help build the leaders of tomorrow, and the scheme also works as well. And the practice also benefits because they've got a GP who's working in their practice 4 sessions a week minimum, but also being developed so that they keep their portfolio options available while under the umbrella of working with expertise across South West London. Some really, really big opportunities there, and we're growing these opportunities. We had a real interest in menopause, so we're currently looking at that as a fellowship, as well as digital and lots of things. And so how it works is the fellow may come along and say, look, I've got this idea of what fellowship I want to do, and I've managed to make my networks, and this is what I'd like to do. And so we can say, great, let's go with that. They may come to us as a South West London, and we may say, look, we want to develop dermatology or menopause, and so we may go out to these clinics and try and find out if they're interested in fellowship. So between us, we can really forge and develop a fellowship which works for the individual. So here's a good example of one of our fellows in South West London. So this is Katie DeWitt. Tells you a bit about what she did and who she was. And so what she achieved in a fellowship has opened up horizons. What we found over the years, a 2-year fellowship, that they've started to become a lot more vocal, a lot more confident, and they really are learning from each other. And so they've had some great connections. And now Katie actually started off doing a diabetes fellowship, and in year 2, so switched it over to be doing something around public health. And now this has moved on. And she's our first cohort, she's finishing at the end of September this year. And she's actually now moving into a population health role in her borough in Richmond, actually. So all as a result of helping her develop as part of the fellowship. And the aim of the fellowship is to train up, educate, so at the end of it they can open up more doors and also hopefully find something which suits them. So a really nice key case there which we can find. So yeah, Katie's still in our fellowship programme, due to finish at the end of this year. Thank you.
Thanks, Mohan. Yeah, so I'll just go a little bit further into how the funding works. So most of our fellows are currently completing only 1 fellowship session. So this first session is funded by NHSE HEE, and it's calculated pro rata based on the number of clinical sessions being completed and the fellow's clinical sessional rate. So an agreement is signed between the fellow's practice, which not only confirms the practice's support of the GP or GPN taking part in the SPIN Niche Practice Fellowship, but it also means that the practice can invoice us monthly and add the fellowship funding to the fellow's usual pay slip. Just keeps everything nice and easy and simple for everyone involved. We also include on costs each month, so that includes pension and national insurance, which we cap at 30%. So as Mohan has previously mentioned, some of our fellows are completing a second fellowship session. And ideally, we'd like to promote this to all of our fellows in South West London, as this gives them a more sort of reasonable amount of time each week to really get involved with their CPD learning, and also help with a project that they may be interested in. It just gives them a little bit more time to get fully involved. So the second session is funded by the host organisation and is usually paid to us at the training hub, so that the practice can continue to simply invoice us once per month. Again, make things really easy. We can then send that full funding for 2 sessions to the practice that gets sent through to the fellow in a payslip. So in addition to the sessional funding, each fellow has access to £1,000 over their 2 years on the programme, and this is to use for additional CPD. So this can include things such as courses, diplomas, conferences, or books. So anything that the fellow finds that's relevant to their chosen topic of interest and will aid to their CPD learning can be funded from this pot. So we just ask that the fellow gives us an overview of the course or whatever it is that they've chosen, and they'll then send us a purchase receipt along with their invoice, and this gets paid directly to the fellow. So again, just to briefly overview all the benefits to everyone involved. I know Mohan's already mentioned a little bit, but there are lots of benefits. I won't go through them all, but in summary, the fellow gets a chance to explore a specialist interest while being supported by their practice and being funded to learn by the scheme. The practice gains a GP or a GPN with a specialism and improves retention of staff by showing keen for staff development within their practice. The portfolio host, who would be funding the second session of the 2, gets the fellow for half price, so they're only paying 1 out of the 2 sessions. And also potential future employee. And overall, the fellowship scheme is an investment into the future. It retains primary care staff and is building future leaders. So here you can see a breakdown of our numbers across South West London. We've got 68 current fellows from 39 different GP surgeries, so it's a really nice mix. And our next intake will be in October this year. So anyone interested in signing up will need to do so by 16th of September. And this just gives us a chance to sort out our paperwork ready for a smooth launch at the start of the month. You can also see here that most of our fellows complete 6 clinical sessions. This will be in addition to the 1 or 2 fellowship sessions. But as Mohan mentioned, there's a requirement for a minimum 4 salaried clinical sessions. We just find that most people prefer to do more. So that's the equivalent of 2 full days. This page sort of highlights the sort of topics or areas that our fellows are completing their fellowship scheme in. So a lot of them are looking mostly into clinical areas, where we've got some in medical education, digital leadership, patient engagement, and some other specific niche areas as well. In addition to the fellowship scheme, we have a supporting mentors scheme. This works very nicely hand in hand with the fellowship scheme. So any mentors wanting to get involved get free access to ILM level 5 mentorship training. And any mentees, a lot of which will be on the fellowship scheme, they get 6 free mentorship sessions with that experienced South West London GP. And these can be either face-to-face or virtual. And this here is just a little summary about what the SPIN New to Practice Fellowship Scheme is. There's some links there, which Dave, I'm sure we can send to you to put in maybe the comments area.
Definitely, please.
Thank you. So that'd be great for people who want to just ask any questions, get in touch with either myself or Mohan using our email addresses, or follow the links to sign up for any of the courses. There's some more application forms here. And in South West London, we've got 6 training hubs, 6 different areas. These are the lead training hub leads and the lead nurses for each area. And that's everything. Thank you.
That is superb. And what a fantastic opportunity. So you've had, what, 68 total at the moment? Or yeah. That is brilliant. When you say new GPs, what sort of, is this first 5, or are you looking for sort of even sort of shorter from that way?
It's aimed for the first 12 months of qualification.
Okay.
Obviously, that can change if maternity leave or this period of sickness. but it's aimed for that first 12 months. And so, yeah, they're the cohort we're currently looking at. But I'm sure that will grow in coming years because, really good opportunity for all.
I was going to say, I was sort of loaded question, seeing as I'm technically within my first 5, but just sort of seeing like, perhaps maybe. So sort of that first initial 12 months, is that same with the GP nurses as well?
Yeah, it's the same for the nurses, and there is a little bit of wriggle room given the COVID period. So if they are slightly over 12 months, we can have that discussion with them to see where they're at.
Fantastic. So yeah, so as you say, and sort of with what was quite nice is saying about you got the mentors as well. So who are you looking for your ideal sort of mentor?
So the mentor can be anyone in South West London who has had an interest in mentoring. Normally it can be GP trainers. They have all been on a ILM5 coaching and leadership course, which is fantastic. And I've been on it myself, and it really does tell you the sort of elements, the tools you want to mentor someone. We've got about 40 mentors across South East London and growing. That's quite a popular need. And it really helps some of the older, sort of more experienced GPs who wanted to give back some sort of information to the sort of younger GPs. And so it really works for all, actually. They get to support the younger ones. The younger ones get to get some really good experience, and there's funding available for that as well. So it's wonderful, and I think it's been really, really popular. And the mentees can be anywhere, anyone, any GP across South West London who's in a substantive role.
No, I think that's a really important point from certainly looking at the GP sort of number crisis at the moment, that actually adding this extra, having a registrar to be a trainer is a big ask, and some aren't willing to take that role and responsibility, and that's completely understandable. But actually having, effectively, if you're mentoring someone who's already a qualified GP, then actually it's more of I take it more of a peer-to-peer discussion, sort of drawing on their experience, rather than being a teacher, tutor, that sort of level from that way. So no, absolutely fantastic opportunity. So are there any particular sort of areas that are sort of popular? I'm slightly biased with my HIMSS hat on and becoming a GP trainer, that whether there'll be a whole load of medical educators that are coming out.
I think it's a bit of a mixed bag. There's quite a lot of dermatologists. It seems to be quite popular. And we've got a WhatsApp group, as everyone does, and with all the fellows, but there's a kind of side WhatsApp group, just dermatology, because there's quite a few of them. There's also an increasing interest in women's health around menopause, but there seems to be an area quite lacking, actually, in terms of where to refer menopause type queries to. So that's something Victoria and I are trying to kind of develop. Education, yes, that's a big one as well, which we've got a few of the fellows on that, but a real mixed bag, actually, and a lot of difference. But I think the big top ones are dermatology, women's health, education are probably the big three.
Yeah, and as you say, sort of the real key tenets to sort of primary care, certainly with the menopause and all the media attention that it's quite rightly got recently, that actually it's making, I think, a lot of people who suffered in silence actually sort of come forward, and I'm certainly seeing in practice a load more consultations about starting HRT, starting menopause, and I'm having to lean to my practice experts to be like, oh, what, how would you manage this? So actually, if you've got someone who's a couple of years into their GP career, who are almost those experts coming through, I think they're going to walk into jobs, if not already have it there. So have you got, I take it it's only sort of early stages, have you got the sort of the conversion rates? Because I take it at the moment they're trying to share their clinical time with in practice, so say doing, as you say, minimum of 4 sessions, and then they're doing 2 sessions doing this, which is understandable. Are they then upping those sessions within the practice, or is it just sort of, what are they doing with the sort of the free time following the 2 years?
So we're still in cohort 1. So we started October 2020, and so we'll come to the end of cohort 1 in a few months. And so I suppose the concept is, they'll carry on their primary care work, and then this bit's a bit different. And some of them have got jobs. So the Katie who we talked about as a case study, she's just landed a population health lead for Richmond, which is great. So that's
fantastic.
Her fellowship in terms of her public health involvement really kind of helped sort of get her interest into that. There's been others who, one lady was doing, Danielle was doing a fellowship in homelessness. And she managed to get a role as the homelessness lead for the trust at St George's. And again, sort of these are good examples of where they can kind of grow their passion and actually then hopefully it'll lead on to something else. So a few of that has happened. And so they won't increase their fellowship session as such. The scheme is for 2 years. So it's 4 or whatever sessions you do at your practice plus the 2. And then after 2 years, it will kind of expire. And I suppose the aim is that it's like an apprenticeship. So at the end of 2 years, you've kind of proven to wherever you're working that, you're worth what you're doing, and actually they'll find your work. And so actually, hopefully that will happen in due course. If not, they'll open up some other doors so they can say, well, actually, I fancy a bit of digital, I fancy a bit of education. This has been fantastic. Or better still, the host might say, well, look, this has been a wonderful scheme for the fellows. Let's get another newly qualified GP to kind of go through the travelator so that we actually educate, support and develop a whole heap of these GPs or nurses across South East London.
No, and as you say, sort of absolutely fantastic opportunity. Great seeing sort of Rachel Morris on there as well. I had a session delivered by her and found it absolutely phenomenal. So how was it? How was that received within the within your cohort?
They absolutely loved it, and we it was one of the fellows who said, look, we have to get Rachel down to one of our groups. So we invited her last month, and it was an evening session, well attended. And it's so great that they wanted her to come again. So she came back about a month ago to do a second session. And I'm sure there'll be a third session and a fourth and a fifth.
So just keep her coming back. Keep her coming back.
Yeah. She's not allowed to leave now.
Quite right. So part of the team, just bring her in. No, it was, I think they got her as part of the partnership program I'm part of. And so, again, unfortunately, I missed the session, but caught up on the recordings. And it was just like, it's one of those, I kicked myself for it. But anyway, so thinking bigger, obviously it's I'm slightly biased seeing as I'm in the northeast of England. And so everything sort of sounds London. So what's the wider scope for our UK GPs who are inspired by your excellent work?
So there's certainly fellowship schemes across UK wide, but they'll have a slightly different sort of tangent to it in terms of what the spec might be. And so I would certainly encourage you to go and find your fellowship lead, your SPIN program director, my equivalent or Victoria's equivalent, and say, look, I'm a newly qualified GP, what's on offer? And certainly if the spec can be identified to you, then there's a good way of being able to identify that, develop it, and use that as part of the scheme. And I think it shouldn't just be the GP fellows, it should be the GP practice and the primary care networks. And the idea is to retain and recruit and keep people in. And certainly it's certainly aimed at those areas which are hard to recruit, so we say. So actually, if you can say, look, we can offer you a full session role, but also a fellowship to help with anything you'd like to do, and there's funding attached to that, suddenly you've got a really attractive package. So that would be my ask is to find who your equivalent is wherever you are across the UK, and see what can be offered and what can be developed, because there's a real opportunity. And I think there's so many assets in our local community, in our local boroughs. Actually, if we can grow those, it really does help sustain things for much longer. And also there's a bit more of a vested interest to make it work. So a real opportunity here to kind of develop new homegrown GPs who know the local area, who can really learn from expertise. So go get it, go find it and get it.
Absolutely. But I think certainly you hit the nail on the head. It's sort of, now that we're sort of getting out of this COVID period of the or trying our best to is building on those communities that we've been sorely lacking for the past couple of years, and actually where general practice can really shine. And sort of it's these, as you say, I can imagine that the GPs that you've got doing this aren't going to struggle in terms of jobs, as you've already said. The prime example, and I think sort of being on the recruiter side of things, it's partly because these people already. If they've already got those contacts, it's funny how these things just happen, or through word of mouth more than anything else. So no, absolutely brilliant opportunity. So no, that is I've been scribbling madly away, and I think you've answered all of my particular questions from that. And just to say a huge thank you, both Mohan and Victoria, for your time and sort of answering my emails and whatnot. What I'll do is I'll put all the relevant links and all the contact details down below in the description if you're happy with that. And then, I hope it helps with your recruitment. So recruitment round, they need to be in contact with you, 16th of September for this year?
That's the deadline.
Fantastic. Right. Well, thank you both very much for your time. Absolutely much appreciated. And very, very best of luck with cohort 3 now.
Cohort 6, it will be in October.
Cohort 6. Wow. Okay. Fantastic. Fantastic. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.